Matt, it strikes me that this happened a while ago. James Comey had the meeting with President Trump. Maybe the rest of the room was excused except for the two of them. He wrote down notes, took these notes, and decided to hold on to those. And then, just days after he's been fired, decides to write a memo, kind of a scathing memo that could put Trump in some hot water, if true.
So I wrote an article about this week. I was the person in the Bush administration, one of the people James Comey had to come meet with so we could figure out his political point of view. By the way, let's say he's ambidextrous when it comes to these questions. He's liberal, he's conservative, he's whatever he needs to be. What you realize about Jim Comey, he's really about preserving his own reputation. And what did Donald Trump do? He did what a president is allowed to do in his prerogative. At the pleasure of the president, he let somebody go. And now Jim Comey is going to prosecute the president for having humiliated him with that decision. Why are we reading about this memo and learning about it today? Because Jim Comey is striking back. It's how he plays the game, and it's why he did a terrible job politicizing the FBI.
Ebony, what about that?
Maybe.
What about having this information if it's allegedly true? Let's just say it is true. And I'm not saying that, but if it is true, he has this information and sits on it until, as Matt points out, a couple days after he's fired.
Yeah, I think the political implications, I've been very critical of Comey around how he's politicized this election. And now, yeah, he's moving forward as a political animal, absolutely. But let's take it at face value. I think there are questions here about loyalty. A lot of people in America are concerned about President Trump and this issue of loyalty. So this accusation that, Comey was asked to look the other way when it comes to Flynn, and ultimately, and even the statement that we just got from the White House right now, where he ultimately says, I think Flynn is a good guy. I think that there are people that are very concerned about how far does Donald Trump take loyalty and this issue of loyalty. Does he take it far enough to obstruct justice as being accused here? We don't know. But I think that's going to be a question that's going to be top of mind as we move this conversation
forward. Well, you see how much he turns on anybody who disagrees with him or he feels has treated him unfairly. Again, like you said, this accusation in particular is a very, very extreme one. So I don't know if just his personality is evidence that he could have done this. We just simply don't know yet. It's something very serious. And Comey, I mean, it does make sense why he would just do it now, right? You get fired, and then all the stuff comes out. It's like when you're a Scientologist, and then you realize, you don't want, then it all comes out. It's always after the fact.
So it had nothing to do with the good of the country or concern about the presidency or obstruction of justice. It only had to do with his own ass being fired, I guess.
I'm saying we don't know what it had to do with it at all.
But let me read this line again from the statement from the White House. The White House response, and this is part of it, not the whole thing, but part of it says, the president has never asked Mr. Comey or anyone else to end any investigation, including any investigation involving General Flynn. Dom, I think he very clearly is categorically denying Comey's memo.
Right, and to your point, if this were that serious, and it's obstruction of justice, I think, if I'm playing the legal eagle here, if he uttered those words to Comey, why wouldn't Comey then have to come out with it at that point? Why wait till now? So the credibility gap, I think, is more here with Comey if it's these two, and that's all that we'll have. I don't know that anybody can corroborate anything here.
No, I don't think so at all. I think those that hear this today in this moment and are likely to believe it readily, with absent evidence around it, it's again going back to this concern of how loyal is Donald J. Trump, how much is loyalty a part of, and how far he will go around it.
I don't think anyone's mind is going to change about any of these situations because of this. People who support Trump are going to say, of course, Comey was lying. People who want Trump to be fired are going to say, no, he wasn't. Of course, Trump would do that. Right. There's no actual evidence here, so I don't think it's going to change anybody's mind about anything until we actually have something.
Unless you have these things, these air quotes.
I hope there is a tape.
First of all,
those don't exist anywhere in the world except garages anymore.
It's not shocking to know that conversations in the Oval Office are monitored by the Secret Service, so these conversations are kept track of. But let me just ask a very simple question. If the president is trying to obstruct justice to the FBI director, he never says anything? If the president is asking inappropriate questions of Jim Comey, he still goes over and has dinner with him and yucks it up with him and has a cocktail? Jim Comey shows a strange pattern of behavior if the president was actually pushing him to do something inappropriate. And the FBI itself is saying the White House pushed back on nothing. They said They did nothing to try to stop these investigations. So the pattern of behavior shows the exact opposite of what Jim Comey said.
You know, Donald Trump ran on draining the swamp. So he goes ahead and he loses confidence in his FBI director, and he fires him. He starts to drain the swamp. And look what happens. At that moment, Comey says, oh, by the way, I had a conversation with him a long time ago. He broke the law. He obstructed justice. I didn't tell you before, but guess what? I'm kind of feeling it now.
And big picture, it looks like piling on. We got the Washington Post. We have the New York Times. It's endless. And these things are not provable on either side. So we're back to the corners again. People in their uniforms tonight, are they with Trump or are they with these
Exactly.
elements?
Let's talk about this issue of provability. That's not a word, but, you know, the ability to prove it.
Right.
I really do hope there are tapes. To your point, Matt, you know, if I call up J. Crew to return a sweater, that call is going to be taped because that's what we do. We have those receipts, so to speak, to talk about it.
Okay, let's say there aren't. It's his word against his word.
And nobody
has any credibility. To be candid with you, Eric, Jim Comey has major credibility problems, absolutely, before a huge part of this country.
I'll tell you what the biggest credibility problem he has is the timing on when he decided to write this memo about what he felt was awful.
Make it public.
Yeah, but people who want to see Trump impeached aren't going to care about that.
Not at all.
They'll believe anything.
But this is how
unless there is some sort of tape or whatever you want to call a recording device, it's his word against his word.
Absolutely.
This is how J. Edgar Hoover played the game. He had stuff on people.
But Comey is a smart man. There's no way he doesn't realize, in the absence of tapes, it's his word against Donald Trump's word, and it's going nowhere. So what is the point of this?
Because for him, it's about his honor. And he believes that he is the great man that stands up for the Constitution, and what he really is the little man who's acting like a politician. We want more in our FBI director than this, which is why every Democrat asked for him to be fired. And I agree with Nancy Pelosi. He should be fired.
Comey could have made that I'm standing up for the Constitution argument maybe a year and a half ago, Matt. I think there's very few people, left, right, or center, honestly, if you take the politics off, that believe anything about Jim Comey, anything other than self-serving.
Wouldn't you like to be the new FBI director, whoever that ends up?
No.